you. Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of our Zoom shiur. I'd like to thank again Mayor Gabay and John Hari for arranging this shiur. I'd like to dedicate tonight's shiur Ilui Nishmat Rivka Bat Jaina Ruach Hashem Tinichena Bagan Eden. Also, Aaron Abuchatzera, who was Shloshim was yesterday, and also I wish one of Chaim Tovim Barukim and Refuah Shlema for all of Am Yisrael, especially Gabriel Lenom Bet Leah Malka, Lisheva Bat Sheva Rivkan, Ron Tikva Ujni Bat Ozet, and also Yoledet, my sister Odelia Zohara Bat Tikva Ujni, should have a speedy recovery with Hashem, and Refuah Shlema for all Am Yisrael. And I'd like to welcome Gilad to this show.
Oh, sorry, I just, sorry. Yeah. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. So tonight we're going to talk about Chesed LaAvraham. A series of questions. We know that Avraham was Amud HaChesed, and that was really our parasha. And so we are told that there was, in the beginning of this week's parasha, Avraham Avinu, he had a tent, and it was opened to four sides. Anyone who was welcome to come, and he got tremendous reward for this, not only for himself, but also for future generations. I want to ask a little bit about Chesed, and what's the difference between Chesed and Tzedaka? And why is it, out of all of the Chesed that Avraham Avinu did in his life, and I'm sure he did many Chasadim, but he was known for this famous Chesed of inviting in angels to his house. He did the Chesed for people all the time. It wasn't the first time strangers came to his house. It was open the whole time. So question number one is, what's the difference between Chesed and Tzedakah? Question number two is, why is this Chesed of the angels mentioned specifically by Abraham rather than all these other Chasadim? And what's special about Abraham, that he's the only one who's called Amud HaChesed? We find a lot of Tzedakah. Noach was called Ish Tzadik, and he did Chesed also in the Teva, but he was only called Tzadik. He wasn't called Ish Chesed. So what's the difference between Tzedakah and Chesed? Why was Noach only called Ish Tzadik and not an Ish Chesed? What's the difference between Chesed and Rachamim? Similar concepts, Chesed and Rachamim. And maybe I'll ask another question. Why does it say about Eov? He also had a tent, which was open on four sides, and people were invited to come. And the Gemara says about Eov that he only reached half of the Madrega of Abraham. And he wasn't called Ish Chesed. What's the difference between Eov and Abraham? And is there a type of charity or tzedakah that a person can get punished? Bad tzedakah. And maybe we'll ask one or more question. Why is there so much reward given with this mitzvah which Avraham Avinu did? Is everyone with me? Shall I repeat the questions?
Okay. With you, Rabbi.
With you with me? Okay, good. Mar, what's your favorite question out of that list? Quite a few questions.
Yeah, I think we went on few of them before in the past.
Yeah.
But I think like it's what's the difference really
between Chesed and Tzedakah?
Yeah, and okay. Rachamim.
Yes. Okay, very interesting question. So why am I talking about Avraham Chesed? So really, Tana Debelio says, Chayav kol adam, lomar emata yagiu ma'asai lema'aseh avotai Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Every person has to ask himself, when and are my deeds are going to touch the deeds of Avraham Avinu? When am I going to be like a little mini Avraham Avinu? Do a little bit of Chesed like Avraham Avinu. And everyone likes to think that they're a good person and they help out people and they do Chesed. But what's really the definition of Chesed? That only Avraham Avinu was called Chesed, and nobody else. And maybe if we study a little bit more Avraham Avinu and the Chesed that he does, we bring out the chesed within us. Especially now we know that the world was created, olam chesed yibaneh. So let's first of all talk about Vayita Eshel be'er Sheva. What's Eshel? What's Eshel? Avraham Avinu planted an Eshel. V'yikra b'shem Hashem ke'olam. Darshu bo. Eshel stands for Achila, Shtiya, and Lina, which is basically a free hotel. Doesn't exist nowadays. You can book in a hotel and stay there for free and eat. But there are special people that have in their own house, they have a little eshel and they welcome people in. And if you're stuck or you want to have a place to eat, to drink, sleep, you're welcome to stay there. There's a very famous place in Stanford Hill called Jackie Levinson. And he had Achnasat Orchim, and people came in from Eretz Israel and just used to sit there. And he used to, I'm talking about, he had a big house in Stanford Hill. And for dinner in his house, maybe it was 40, 50, 60 people eating. And there's many bedrooms, I don't know how many rooms, and people used to sleep there. And they said a funny story about him. He was a big anav, humble person. And he used to sit there and eat amongst the people. Right? And the people used to eat there, they used to come from Eretz Israel, collecting in London. We know, where can you stay? Where can you eat? Jackie Levinson, Tzaddik. So the story said that one time he was sitting down to eat. And he sat next to someone collecting from Israel. And they were both eating their soup. That was the dinner. And he's like the big Richie Balabait. And he's sitting next to this Misken Mashiach from Eretz Israel. And the guy says to Jackie, doesn't know who he is. He thinks he's another Mashiach from Eretz Israel. And he says, tell me, it's amazing here, you can just eat here and drink and you can sleep. How long do you think you can stay here for? But he was thinking, I don't know, I've been here for a few days already. I just want to know what's normal that I can stay for, how long you can stay. And what would you say, to Jackie? What would you say? How would you answer that? What would be your response? Can I have a suggestion, please?
What was the question, sorry?
He asked Jackie, how long can you stay here for? He's being out of this guest house, staying there, eating and sleeping. He just wants to know, how long is it normal to stay for? And Jackie, he was the host. He's the balabait there. He's the one who's welcoming guests. Didn't even realize he's speaking to the balabait. Jackie turned around. What?
You can stay until you are called by your wife to come back.
Oh, see, that's a nice suggestion. That's a nice thing to say, Mo. But I tell you, Jackie's line. This is Jackie's line. He turned around and said, listen, I don't know, but I've been here for 40 years and nobody's kicked me out yet. Then Achnasat Orchim said, listen, I'm also a guest here. I've been here for 40 years. I'm eating, I'm sleeping. No one sent me out. And this is a tremendous act of chesed. So that's the opening story. And that's Avraham Avinu. He planted the Eshel. And not only that, Avraham Avinu didn't just give them food and place to sleep. He also fed them spirituality. He taught them about Kadosh Baruch Hu. He taught them how to do Birkat Hamazon, how to thank Hashem for the food. He said, it's not my food, it's God's food. Like Jackie, it's not my house, it's not my food. Akol Borei Olam, everything belongs to Kadosh Baruch Hu. So that is the opening of the parasha. And you see how much chesed that Avraham did. He said, he ran. All the chesed he did enthusiastically. He says many times, El Abakar Ratz Avraham. Ratz Likratam. He ran out towards the guests. And he said he got tremendous reward from this. He said, even though this world we don't get reward, but for chesed, there is reward. Chesed, you get repaid immediately.
In this world?
In this world, yeah. Gemilut chasadim is one of the things that we get perotein b'olam hazeh, v'kerem karemet le'olam haba, which means you get rewarded for doing chesed. You do kindness with somebody, Hashem has paid you back with kindness. That's a speciality with about chesed. I always like to tell you the story over. My mom says this about her friend Gali. And her line is that when you do chesed, Hashem pays back in cash. She says the story, you know, they were on holiday once in the south of France, and they're staying by the Côte d'Azur, nearby in a place called Es, next to Monaco. And they were there with my sister-in-law, and she just had a baby, and she needed a dummy, a bottle, some things for the baby. So she said, Gali, listen, when you're going out to see the town, to see the place. On your way, if you can pass by a pharmacy and pick me up, you know, just a bottle for the baby. She said, okay, no problem, take it away. I'll get it for you. So she said that they went out to go around and see the place. And she said to her husband, I said, listen, the first thing, we're going to find the pharmacy. That's what we're looking for first thing. He said, Gali, what do you mean? We've got a few places we want to see. We want to, let's speak, we want to try and get to a few places. You know, let's try and get it done. And on the way, if we see something, then we'll pick it up. You know, she said, no. First thing, we're going to do get the bottle for thing. And he's like, come on, Gali. You know, we're not here every day, in France. We want to enjoy it. He said, listen, first thing, we're not doing anything until we get this bottle. Okay. So she said she walked she asked around, first pharmacy she found, she walked in. And she got the stuff for the baby. As she's paying in the till, she gets stopped by one of her clients, recognizes her from Austria. She happened to be in Monaco. And she said, Gali, I've been trying to reach you. I didn't have your number. He said, listen, we've got a wedding. We need to do, she was working in Scheitelwigs. She says, listen, I've got a wedding coming up. I need a few shaitels for me, for my wife, for the sister, for the mother. I feel like the whole family needs to sort it out. He said, when is it? He said, next month. He said, Gali, listen, this is a wealthy lady. So on the spot, she paid, listen, I'll give you tickets. I need to fly in for one day, take all the measurements, what you need. And she gave like a few, I don't know how many she sold, it's a couple of £1,000 basically in business, just in that pharmacy. And the moral of the story is that the chesed, Gali did it just purely out of doing kindness for my mom, for the baby in France, where you're going to get water from. And Hashem paid it back immediately. And we see this example. That's an amazing story. She's got a whole string of stories. That's just one of them. But her line is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu pays back in cash when you do chesed with somebody. And that is chesed, to go out to find someone, to get them what they need. They need a bottle. It's a small thing. How much it costs? £2. How much it costs? A dummy. I don't know what it is. But when someone's stuck in a different country, and they're not near shops, they don't have anywhere to buy, you did it for them. That's the big chesed. So what was the reward for Abraham Avinu? And this is the perot ba'olam hazeh. Abraham Avinu, he served himself. He says, "Ve'ela bakar ratz Abraham." And everything that Abraham did himself, Hashem rewarded him himself. Whatever he did by a shliach, ali de shliach, on a messenger, then Hashem gave it through a messenger. So the Gemara brings a few examples. This is Gemara in Baba Metzia. He says, "Ve'ela bakar ratz Avraham." Avraham ran himself to get them the meat. He says, in the Midbar also he gave them Baruch Nasa Me'et Hashem. Hashem brought down all the slav, give them meat in the desert. Ve'ikach chemach v'chalav, and he brought them milk and butter. He says, "Eneni mamtir lachem lechem min hashamayim." Hashem gave them man. V'hu amed aleim, he stood over them to serve them, and Hashem stood over them in the pillar of cloud. Avram holech imam lishalcham. Avram escorted them. So Hashem walked in front of them with a pillar of fire and a pillar of cloud which walked in front of us. Yukachna me'at mayim. Avram said to his messenger, "Bring some water." So God provided water by the messenger of Moshe Rabbeinu when he hit the rock. And then the Midrash continues even more. He says, for every description that Avram did, he got rewarded. His children, Bamidbar, and Be'eretz Israel, and the Tidlavu. Okay, I'm just going to speak out a few examples. When he said bring them water, so they got water in the desert. Bamidbar, it says, Az Ashir Israel et Ashir Azot Ali Be'er, because they got the water. In Eretz Canaan, it says Eretz Nachalei Mayim Mayanot. And also Latid Lavo, Bayom Hu Yitzu Mayim Chaim Yerushalayim. So on 3 different occasions, in the Midbar, in Eretz Israel, and in the future. Same thing with V'rachatzu Raglechem. In the Midbar, V'echetzecha B'mayim. In Eretz Israel, Rachatzu V'ezaku Psukim. And Atid Lavo also. In Merchatz Hashem Etzeot Benot Zion. And the list goes on. Bishanu Tachat Etz. Sorry, Joe?
Sorry to interrupt. Does that mean we merit in his?
So the pasuk is talking about the period of time where Am Yisrael were in the Midbar and when they were in the Eretz Israel, and it's talking about in the future Latid Lavo. Now, even when Mashiach will come and the land will produce water, produce fruit, produce food, we will benefit from that, all from the original Chesed of Avraham Avinu. Just think about that. From this one act, when he was there with the angels and giving them food and drink, they get rewarded in the wilderness and in Eretz Israel and Latid Lavo when Mashiach comes. So we just give 2 examples about the water and the washing of food, and it continues. He made the Bishanu Tachat Etz. They rested under the tree. So in the wilderness, they rested under the pillar of the cloud. In Eretz Israel, Besukot Tishvu Shivat Yamim. You get the mitzvah of Sukkot corresponding to that. And in the future, Besukat Tiyeh Letel Yomam V'chorev. Hashem will put all of the tzaddikim inside the sukkah. It continues again. Ve'ekachapat melechem. Avraham gives them bread to eat. So in the wilderness, what did they get? Bread. That should be obvious. They got man min hashamayim, right? In Eretz Israel, they got Eretz Chita, Besaura, Eretz Asher Lo Miskenot Tochal Balechem. And in Latid Lavo, it says that even bread will grow out from the ground. Now you pick up apples from the tree. But to get bread, you have to work hard. Wheat and flour and knead the dough and bacon. But it's going to grow from the ground. Says Gemara in Shabbat. So all of this reward is just called perot. It's not even called the actual reward for the mitzvah of chesed. It's just peroten ba'olam hazeh. Tremendous reward that there is in the chesed, like also that story with Gali and all every chesed that person does. Jackie was rich.
Wife, so Habakar.
Slowly, I missed your Gilad.
No, the wife of Yitzchak and the wives of Yaakov. It's a Habakar, it's Rivka, Rach, it's Leah, Rachel. So there's a crackling in echo, and I can't hear you clearly. You said something about Rivka and Rachel. I have a problem with my...
Yeah, you're muffled, Gilad.
Maybe type it for us on the chat. Okay. While Gilad's typing, we're going to continue a little bit. So what was this tremendous reward for him? And there's a reward for every single word that he did. The list continues. I'm just going to skip out. Oh, just tonight's shiur is based on my favorite Rabbi Baruch Rosenblum. It's a new book which came out. It's called Baruch Yomeru. I love this book. I'm going to share with you one sikha which is based on this book, Chesed LaAvraham. I added in a few stories, but it's the main topic is sources is bought from this book. So the question is, out of all of the chesed which Avraham did, and all the amazing things that he did, over all the many years that Avraham Avinu was doing chesed, and he's coined and in fame and rewarded tremendously just for this act. So what's so special about this act? I mean, he did it many times. So the Midrash actually brings this question, and Midrash answers like this. Someone who does chesed with someone that doesn't need chesed. There is Avraham Avinu, he did chesed with the angels. They ate under the tree. Does the Midrash, do angels eat? Angels don't eat food. So there's 2 opinions. One opinion is that they just made themselves look as if they were eating and as if they were drinking. A person should always blend in where he is. And he says that's what they did when they came down. And the Midrash says it's a kal v'chomer. He said if such a reward is given to Abraham for doing a chesed when it wasn't really needed, the angels didn't need to eat, but they need to drink. that they need to sleep. And Avram provided for them. So the Kal V'chomer is even if Kal V'chomer, if a person actually needs chesed and needs the food and you feed him, someone who's hungry, that's a much more chesed. So the Torah goes out of way to tell you this episode because all the other episode is like if someone hungry, so give them food. But here somebody didn't even need to eat and you gave them and you gave such tremendous reward. So Kal V'chomer, how much even more so is the reward and the kindness for someone that actually needed. Now there is another opinion which is brought down from Tosfot and by Eliyahu, Medrash Eliyahu Rabbah. And he said they didn't actually make themselves as if they were eating. It's like an illusion, pretending to eat. He says there was an actual miracle created. And because Abraham so much wanted to give, the angels actually ate. Which means even though angels don't usually eat, they don't have a digestive system. But in this case, God created the angels to have a digestive system just so they would eat in order just to make Abraham happy. So he'll be able to fulfill his act of kindness of what he wanted to do. And this is the tremendous reward over here. So the Maharal actually asks the question, he says, why is this Gemilut Chasidim special from all other mitzvot? Right? All other mitzvot, when you do a mitzvah, where do you get the rewards from? You're putting on tefillin, important mitzvah. You get it in the world to come in the future. Okay? Other mitzvot, you do it, you get it in the future. Gemilut Chasadim, you get paid in cash. Says the Maharal, why do I get paid immediately? For doing kindness. And he gives the answer because
mitzvah of Gemilut Chasadim. The entire mitzvot, where is the mitzvah of Gemilut Chasadim?
Okay, Gilad, Bezrat Hashem will fix your mic. But I think he said, where is the source for Gemilut Chasadim? Yeah, okay. So the Torah is Kula Chesed. You find it, Torah Chesed Aleshona, Mitchilata V'ad Sofa is Chesed. And you find a few mitzvot of V'avta L'recha Kamoch, which is written before us. But the mitzvah of Chesed is a midah, right? It's a requirement. We're going to see there's a few times which is more essential Shulchan Aruch. And I think by the end of the show, you'll have a better understanding of the concept of Chesed and where it's brought down from the Torah. But the basic reason for the reward of Chesed, which the Maharal writes, is that it's reward midah keneged midah. Which means just like you give good to people in this world, so Hashem does goodness with you. Okay? And maybe act of Chesed, by definition, we're going to come back to your question. Okay? Okay. Where was I? We did midah keneged midah, we did the Maharal. Why does the person get rewarded so much for chesed and kindness in this world? Because it's midah keneged midah. What is that? What I mean by that? Midah keneged midah is measure for measure. I did kindness to somebody, I did good to someone, so God does kindness and goodness with me. That makes sense? Joe, can we have a nod? Thank you. That makes sense? Yeah. Okay. So the Navi Yirmiyah says Yirmiyah in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ribono shel olam. He's talking about the evil and bad people of Anatot. He said even if they actually give tzedakah, make sure that they give tzedakah to people who are unworthy of the tzedakah, that they don't deserve to receive the reward. And one of the Rishonim says, he called the other Rama. He says that a person gives tzedakah to somebody that doesn't deserving of the tzedakah or is not worthy. Adam shelo meuganim, lav tzedakah. It's not called tzedakah. And it's brought down from the Gemara that tzedakah is only get paid according to the chesed that you've done. That means if you give tzedakah and a person does good with it, then you get rewarded for it. And if he doesn't do good with it, then it's not considered tzedakah. So it brings us back to the question of Avraham Avinu. Why is he getting such tremendous reward for doing tzedakah with people that don't even need chesed at all. Does that make sense? Let me explain again the question. When Yirmiyah Navi wants to, let's say, maybe curse the people of Anatot, he says, I wish that when they give charity and even when they bring out their heart to do good, they don't actually give any charity to any worthy cause. Why? Because a person who gives charity to a non-worthy person, it's not considered tzedakah. So if you're giving to a charity to someone who's not worthy, it's not called tzedakah. The person doesn't need it. It's just somebody who's a con or is a cheat. So it's not even called tzedakah. So Avraham Avinu, when he gives to the angels, they didn't even need the charity. So why does he get rewarded for it? And maybe it now hasn't even done anything. Does that make sense?
But how would you know? I don't understand. He saw 3 guys standing in the middle of the desert in in the
Okay, so he had pure intentions. Yeah.
hottest day ever.
Yes. Hottest day ever. Yes.
Why wouldn't they need it? They need help. I don't understand. They were just standing there. They didn't know what to do. They didn't want to bother him. He understood that they're standing there because they didn't want to bother him.
So good. You're saying good. Let me just explain it a bit better. Gilad saying, of course, Avraham Avinu was Moser Nefesh. He went out of his way to do chesed and kindness. It was an extremely hot day that Hashem Otzi Chamam min Artika, which means he took out the sun from its protection. The sun has got protection over it that we don't get burnt alive. And he took it out and he brought out the heat of Geinom on that day, and no one was out. And Hashem did that so that Avraham would not have any guests. And even still, he goes out to look for guests. So, of course, that was an act of goodness that he did, right? Kind heart. But the question is, based on the Navi Yirmiyah, when Yirmiyah says, Ribono shel Olam, please punish the people of Anatot, that they don't get rewarded even for the charity that they do. That when they actually want to give charity, they take out their pocket, they give it £100 to somebody that's not worthy of the money. And the guy, instead of doing good things with it, he goes and gambles it away. Okay? That's what I want it to be. And that's based on the Rishonim, which says that if you give charity to something which is not worthy, it's not even called charity. So if it's giving to a source which is not worthy, which is unnecessary.
That's on purpose.
Once again, so Avraham Avinu, that maybe even though it wasn't on purpose and he was in good intention, but that's irrelevant. At the end of the day, the Malachim didn't use it for anything. It was completely redundant. I think it's a good question. No, you don't think so?
What was the question? Sorry.
The question is, if Avraham gave it to angels that didn't need the charity, then it's not really such good charity because it was useless, it's redundant, didn't really actually help anybody. So why is he getting so much reward? So Meir said he didn't have a good intention. So you're saying good, Meir, but it's still not enough to answer the question. And I'll explain why. If a person wants to do a mitzvah, but he gets honest. Honest means he wants to do a mitzvah, but he can't do it for uncontrollable reasons. It's not in his hands. So it says the pasuk in the Navi Malachi. ויכתוב ספר זיכרון לפניו יראה השם לחושבי שמו. אפילו חישב לעשות מצווה ונאנס ולא עשה מלא עליו וכתוב כי לא עשה. Which means if you really want to do a mitzvah and you get stopped from doing it min hashamayim, you get rewarded as if you've done it. Which means if you really want to feed people, right? And you go out of your way. And Hashem said, listen, I'm not letting anyone come. And it makes it a boiling hot day. And Hashem makes angels appear as if they were dressed up as Arabs because just Abraham needed to feed them. So then you get rewarded. So the question is then, on the other side, why the people of Anatot, when they actually give charity to people who are not worthy, they wanted to give charity. So why the negative was just like Avraham Avinu? Yirmiyahu says, I want them to give money to unworthy people. That's Tsedaka l'anashim she'enam mehuganim. So why is it different to Avraham Avinu?
Because maybe for them, because for some people who don't have the merit, but they do tzedaka like not fully with fully intention. They just do it. So Hashem will look for a merit sometimes, like just like Menashe. When he made his prayer, it wasn't a worthy prayer, because Menashe's prayer for
Right.
Teshuvah was basically, it was in Hashem's face. It was like, if
Okay.
you don't save
But
me,
he was,
then you're not the God. And Hashem
but he
accepted
was
it,
still answered it.
but Hashem used it anyway. So the prophet was saying, if they make things like this which are not really worthy, don't accept it. Whereas Aaron Avinu was worthy. It was still like, don't basically do the chesed with them of accepting things which aren't worthy.
Okay, listen, you're on the right tracks. What about Mo? You want to say something?
I think like what the mayor said, it's about the intention.
It's about the intention.
And yeah, and the source, where it's coming from, the urge to do it.
Okay. So in fact, listen, there's two parts to charity. There's the first.
You could say they did need it.
Who needed it? The angels.
The angels, yeah.
Why?
Because I mean, the angels need Avraham Avinu to have merits, because he's the father of Bnei Israel, and if that doesn't succeed, then Hashem's not happy with the whole world, including the angels. So you could say that them going to do it is ensuring a continuation of the world.
Very indirectly. Okay. So listen, you're right on the first idea there. You're on the right tracks, because there's two parts to charity that's giving. There's the act of giving, and who do you give it to? So there's two different parts. Now, a person can have good intentions and a person can have bad intentions, and really the reward is based on really on what your intention of the act is. However, it's only half. And let me explain myself. The Gemara says that all of the nations of the world that do good, they have kindness, right? Organizations, medical organizations, right? Or the ambulance, all of the chesed that they do. Which means all the kindness is a sin. The reason why you're doing the kindness is just to show off, for their own pride, to give presents to themselves, to give themselves cover. That's not why you do chesed. They don't do chesed so they can write on the wall, Mr. Day, the big chesed, he built this building on the kindness. No, that's not why you do chesed. The kindness because you want to be like your creator. Like God does kindness and gives a giving, you want to be a giver. That is your mission in life. To be a giver, to give to people, give from yourself, think about others, just to be like God, to be like the Creator. That is the concept of chesed. And according to the halakha, if someone gives tzedakah just for his own glory, I bought ptichata panasa for £3,000, yeah, just showing off how rich you are. So not only don't get reward, yeah. Oh, you're doing it. I know somebody gave $100,000 to charity. He didn't give a penny at all to anyone else, but one time in his life he gave it, and he's just walking around thinking how charitable it is and saying, I give $100,000. Yeah, I don't even know where he gave it to, but the guy is like a big gambler. But he does it only just for his own kavod and glory. Yeah. Which means that's negative charity. It's charity not for the sake of goodness and giving. It's the act of kindness for receiving. That's the opposite of Judaism. We're not here in this world just to receive and to accept. We're here to give. So the one part is giving it. And how do you give it? You give it with the right intent, with the goodness of the soul. And that's what Avraham Avinu was definitely doing. What the people of Anatot were doing wrong is even when they were giving charity, that was only for their own credit to receive. The second part of charity is the person receiving it. What goodness does that do? And Rashi says, even if you drop a coin, if you dropped a $5, okay? Now, you spend the whole day looking, where did I drop the $5? I need it, you feel bad about it. Okay, but some poor guy picked it up, and he bought lunch with it, and he ate it, and he was calm and good things with it, you get rewarded for that, even though you had no intention to give any charity. And in fact, you're upset about it. You're distressed the fact that you lost that one, but you still get tzedakah.
Am I right in thinking?
Yeah.
Am I right in thinking if someone picks it up, someone else picks it up and gambles it?
Yeah.
You don't receive any reward.
Exactly. Oh no. So wait. There's two parts. So the tzedakah is split into two. The intention that you have when you give. So you either can get tremendous reward just because you wanted to give it, even if nothing happens to it in the end. Like Avraham gave it to the angels, you still get that first part of the reward. Or you lose all the reward just by having bad intentions, and it's not even called tzedakah. And there's a second part of the tzedakah, what happens with the money that's received, which means irrelevant of who gave it and why they gave it, and if they wanted to give it or they didn't want to give it. But if the money received was actually done goodness, and that person, he studied Torah from it, or maybe he did a shidduch with it, and from that money, there was a child born and he became Mashiach, yeah? Something amazing, yeah? So that all goes back to where that money came from. Even though the person maybe gave it unknowingly or discouraging, but it's two separate parts. It's different cheshbon and calculation, not to be confused with each other. So he says that with the people of Anatot, when they were stingy and bad of heart, they didn't want to give, but they gave only for the self-illusion of, for the haughtiness and for the arrogance. And they don't get any reward for the kavanah. But says, you remember, if they actually give to good people, then they'll get reward for the goodness that actually end up being done by them. So I'm praying that no good people actually come and no worthy people actually receive their charity. That when they want to give charity for the wrong reasons, it doesn't even come to good hands. So they shouldn't get both sides of the charity. They should lose, because the giving side, they don't want to actually give a good, and even on the receiving side, they should. That's what he asked them, they didn't get. Just that you should know that. How does a person merit that it gets to a good person? You actually, you're giving £100, you want it to get to a good place. How do you actually make sure? One thing is you can try and give it to a good person, which is worthy. But there's also something that you can pray for. I want to give the money to a good cause. And then, even maybe if you lose money or accidentally or give it to the wrong place, Hashem will make you go to the right place. It's called Magalgalin Zchut Al Yedei Zakai, which loosely translated in English means Megalgalin is like rolled over. You get a rollover bonus. If somebody is righteous and does good, then he gets Al Yadav comes more good things. Which means like one good deed leads to another one, and you end up doing that. Even accidentally, you end up helping people. So let's go back to what we're talking about. The tremendous reward is given to somebody who wanted to do a mitzvah, even if he doesn't actually end up doing it. That's just on the intention part, on the thought. But there's still on the action part, which is receiving. So when Avraham Avinu, on the most difficult day of his life, which is the third day of the Brit Milah. Third day of the Brit Milah is the most difficult time. And he went out, and even do you know how hot the fire is in Gehinnom? What's the most burning fire that there is in this world, right? Think about burning lava of a volcano, right? Which is bubbling, and fire can, burn things which you put in it. That's only 1/60th of the fire in Gehinnom. And that's the heat that we're talking about on that day. Hashem made 2 holes from Gehinnom, and he just burnt up the whole day of that day of Avraham Avinu. And Eliezer goes around and he says, listen, I can't. He said, go find me guests. I need guests. Right? We've got a menu. You need people to feed. Bring me guests. And Eliezer goes out and he comes back. Avraham and said, listen, I can't find anyone. It's boiling hot. Don't send me out there again. I want to stay here in the Mazgan. And Avraham says, there's no way. I need guests. Go out again. And he sends him out again. And then he doesn't find. And Avraham doesn't believe him. He said, I'm going to go myself and find. And he goes out and he bumps into HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem says to him, he said, listen, I need my guests. And Avraham Avinu, even when he comes face to face with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, he doesn't lose focus. Rambam says when a prophet gets prophecy, it's not like you're just watching a clip. You see a prophecy. It's not like a dream. When you receive a prophecy, says the Rambam, all your feelings, all your senses become itbatlu mehem kol regshotehem. You lose all your senses. You become weak in all your power. Yichlishu kochotehem. V'yigal lehem mora gadol is a tremendous fear. Kimat shetetzeh rucham mehem, which means your spirit almost leaves your body when a prophet gets prophecy. It's a knockout. So Avraham Avinu comes and he sees the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And he's just saying, I need my guests. That means he doesn't even lose focus. It doesn't instead of fainting and collapsing by seeing a Kadosh Baruch Hu like a prophecy, he says, no, I have to find my guests. So the question is here, what is the mitzvah of chesed? Gilad asked says, where is it written in Torah chesed? Where is it written? You have to do chesed. So it says, Olam chesed yibaneh. It says, V'ahavta lecha kamocha. There's a lot of things that we talk about chesed, but it's not actually a mitzvah. You have to do chesed a day. Or do 2 chesed, 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening. There's no chesed chiyuvit, which means other mitzvot, there's a time where you have to fulfill it. You have to put on tefillin in the morning. You have to do birkat hamazon after you eat bread. Okay, there's a time to do these mitzvot. But chesed is when you have a chesed, you do a chesed. Then when there's no chesed, you don't have to do any chesed. So why is Avraham Avinu going out of his way looking for a chesed? He says, no, I have to do a chesed today. That's called, it's mitzvah kiyumit. Avraham, not only that, it's mitzvah kiyumit. There's nobody around. It's a scorching hot day. The fire of Gehinnom is burning in the world. And Avraham Avinu on the 3rd day of his Brit Milah is in physical pain. And the only thing is bothering him is that I can't do a mitzvah of chesed, which I'm not even mechuyav to do, and I'm not obligated to do. That's the only thing on your mind. That's the only thing you actually want to do. Avraham Avinu. So, in order to understand really what is the concept of Avraham Avinu, we have to compare it to Eov. Eov says the Midrash in Avot Rabbi Netanel, Yi betcha patuach lirvacha, Pirkei Avot, which means your house should be open wide. What does it mean open wide? Let in your guests. Eov, it was said about him that he had a house like Avraham Avinu, which is open to 4 sides, north, south, east, and west, big entrance. All welcome. Free hotel, Eov. People used to come in and eat and drink, and people would talk about what they would eat there. If someone was used to eating bread, you'd eat bread. Everyone would eat and drink and get dressed, and they had clothes. If you need a new clothes, you get clothes in the house of Eov. And nevertheless, Eov was not called Ish Chesed, and he was only called Eov Adayin Lo Hagia Lechetzi Shiur Shel Avraham. Now, what's the difference? What's the difference between Eov and Abraham? Let's place out the difference. Do you have suggestions? Whoever who used to eat bread used to get bread. If you eat meat, he gave you meat. If you drink wine, he gives you wine. That's suggestions. What's the difference between Eov and Abraham?
But we know from this example with the angels that between what he offered them to what he did, there was a big gap, right? So he offered them Me'at Lechem, and then he went and did the Seudat Melachim. So.
Okay, and what's the difference between that and Eov?
No, it was obviously, he did Ma'al U'Mever. He did like the. So you just gave them what they wanted, right? He basically Amar Ma'at V'Asa Arbe. I'm not sure you can hear me.
Okay, it's true. But is that just half? Is that half? I mean, Eov, why did you open 4 entrances? Because if somebody who comes, he doesn't want to trouble him to go around the building and find the entrance. You can just go in from each side, right? So that's tremendous kindness in Eov.
Is it 'cause he did
He gave
that?
them wine, meat, bread.
Sorry, who is Eov?
Eov was one of the prophets in there's a book of Job, Eov, in the Navi. So the story about him, he was a tzaddik in the beginning, and he ended up suffering. But the message over here is one of the things he did. He had a guest house like Avraham Avinu, and he was only called even reaching half the level of Avraham Avinu, or didn't even reach half of Avraham Avinu. So I'm going to tell you the two differences which is brought down. He was very nice. He had 4 entrances. He gave them bread and meat and wine. 2 differences which we know of. One is that Eov gave everyone according to their level. So what do you normally eat for lunch? I have a cheese sandwich. Okay, cheese sandwich. It's a cheese sandwich. So listen, I usually have steaks. You have steak, I'll give you steak. What do you drink normally? Usually I have a Ribena. I drink champagne. I'll give you champagne. Whatever you drink, I'll give you to drink. Avraham Avinu, what did he give his guests? He said, like Gilad said, come here, have some bread and water. And he gives them tongue and mustard and gives them all the good things here. He gives them deluxe, the best. So that's one difference. Another difference is that Eov was open his house all the time on all 4 directions, and Avraham Avinu went out to look for people. Okay? That's the 2 differences. Now, do you think that's a big difference?
Yes.
It's a big difference, you know, if Abraham put the
Is it?
bar so high,
Yeah.
for everyone else, it's gonna be.
But what's such a big difference? I'm hungry. I'm coming in the desert. Okay, just give me a drink, give me a sandwich. That's fine. I don't need to run out to me and welcome me in. You know, I'll see the door. I'll walk inside. They ask me, what do you want to eat? Please, can I have some bread, wine, and meat? They give it to me. So Avram did an extra big piece. You know, he went out to greet them. Very nice. You know, he gave you more than what you're used to. Okay, so maybe it's a big extra. It's like a 20% extra bonus. Yeah, maybe it's a 30%. But what? It's double. Yeah, Eov didn't reach half. You still go. You eat. They give you nice clothes. They give you to drink. Let me ask you a question more. When you give when you find a poor person, what's the mitzvah? Is it mitzvah to give him what he needs, or is it mitzvah to make him rich?
Sorry again, I didn't get the first part.
It depends.
Tell me to help somebody. What's depend on? Let me repeat the question. Also, didn't hear the question. When you see a poor person and he needs help, what's the mitzvah? To give him what he needs, or to make him rich?
As he's used to.
Give him what he's used to. Dai mechsaro asher yechsar lo, says the pasuk. Ata mitzvah elav lefarnaso. To give him what he's missing. V'yata mitzvah le'achir shiro. There's no mitzvah to make him rich. Give him what he needs. If that's what he's missing, we give him what he's missing. If he needs wine, give him wine. If he gives him a Sprite, give him a Sprite. What he's used to. So that's what Eov did.
Maybe
So what's
Avram
wrong with
was
that?
seeking a reward.
Oh, go on. What do you mean?
It was wholeheartedly that he genuinely wanted to please people and give them more than they need, solely because that's what he wanted to do, and not because he wanted any reward. However, in doing so, he would have got the reward.
Excellent.
And also, but like Avram's main purpose was to spread the Hashem in the world. So he wanted to people come have a feast, but then also to do the blessing and
Yes.
to talk about Hashem. So that's the core.
Yes.
On the flip
Very
side,
good.
on the flip side, like total flip side, maybe you can see from the way that Eov suffered, he couldn't find a reason, right? So if you say that he was always looking for a reason to do his chesed, Hashem's reply was, no, I'm going to give you something which has no reason now, and this is how I want it to be done. But there was a hidden message in the way he was suffering. He couldn't find the midah connected midah that he was so used to doing with everyone else.
Right.
That's Hashem's message that you're not. That this is how I want you to act.
I'm not sure I understand what you're saying there. You're explaining why Eov was not as good as Abraham?
Yeah.
Well, he was suffering. He couldn't find a reason why he was suffering.
He when we said that when he was giving out the chesed, he would give what people are used to.
Yeah, whatever you need, you can get. What do you want? You normally have wine, I'll give you wine. Bread, I'll give you bread.
Basically, what you deserve.
Yes.
Right?
Well, that's quite a nice thing, no? If you're in the desert, what do you eat when you're traveling? Yeah. So I hope you have a nice meal. If you're traveling, you have some crackers, grab a sandwich. And he gives you what you have at home. I thought that's quite nice, no?
So as a way of like sort of in a really hidden way of telling Eov that what he's doing is wrong.
But is it wrong? Is it wrong to and then it was charity?
It's
No?
good. It's not wrong. It's not as
the punishment he received from Hashem. He couldn't see any connection.
Right.
Couldn't see the point. So maybe that was like anyway.
No, I'm not sure. I could be saying something else. I'm not sure I had to explain what. I'm not really explaining what Eov is suffering. That's what I'm looking for. I'm just going to look at the side of the goodness. But definitely what me and Joe was saying. It was the goodness of the heart of Avraham Avinu. Now let's just focus on the pasuk in Tehillim which says, Olam chesed yibaneh. The world is created from kindness. What does that mean? Based on Midrash Rabbah. At the time when God wanted to create the world, בשעה שהקדוש ברוך הוא בא לברוא את האדם הראשון, נעשה מלאכי השרת כיתות כיתות, חבורות חבורות. There was different groups of angels. And God turns around to the angels and he asked them a question, should we create man? Should we not create man? So some groups said, yeah, create man. Some said, don't create man. Chesed ve'emet nifgeshu tzedek ve'shalom nashaku. Chesed omer, kindness says, create man. Because man does good deeds and good kindness. Shehu gomer chasadim. Truth, emet, says, al yivra, don't create man. Kulo shkarim, all a bunch of liars. Don't create man. Tzedek, yivra, shehu oseh tzedakot. Create man because he does tzedakah. Shalom, don't create man. Kulo ktata, just arguments. Ma'aseh HaKadosh Baruch Hu natal emet v'yishlucho arza. He threw truth and emet to the world. Says the pasuk, v'tishlach emet arza. And the world was created b'zchut chesed v'tzedakah. That was the reason why the world was created. That was means olam chesed yibaneh. And I'm getting it. Are we in for time? Okay, we're getting to the end. We're going to skip a little bit. God created the world from chesed. Kilo olam chasdo. 26 generations from the world was created till he gave the Torah. Kilo olam chasdo, it says 26 times in Halel HaGadol, corresponding to those 26 generations. The only person who was called chesed was Avraham. Chesed Avraham. What was special about Avraham Avinu? Avraham Avinu learned from Shem, the son of Noah. And he said he was jealous of Shem, Malki Tzedek. He was a righteous person. And he said to him, listen, you were in the ark with Noah. You were in Tevat Noah. How did you get out of the Teva? And he said, we did Tzedakah. We did Tzedakah in the Teva of Noah. Which Tzedakah did they do? Was there any poor people on the Teva that they gave charity to? Who did they do Tzedakah to?
The animals.
The animals. You can do Tzedakah with animals?
yeah. If you're looking after them, they're God's creatures.
Yes, the God's creatures. You can do tzedakah with animals. We didn't used to sleep. We used to give them all the night, before the day. Some animals need to eat in the morning, some in the evening, some in the middle of the night. And at that time it says, if they wouldn't have done tzedakah with the animals, they wouldn't have gone out of the ark. The only reason why they survived is because of their charity, charitable acts. And if that's what they got saved when they did the charity with animals, so how much more so and important is to do charity with people? And in that moment, Avraham Avinu said, with the goodness of his heart, I'm going to do charity. That's what I'm here. I'm going to open this Esher. I'm going to open Esher Achila, Shtiya, Velina in Beersheba. I'm going to open a house of kindness. That's what's going to be my house. My house is going to be like the kindness and the goodness which God does in the world. He said that was what Avraham decided. What was the pain that they had? It was very difficult for them to feed all the animals at different times. But nevertheless, they did feed them. It says Ar HaChaim HaKadosh that when Noach took out his hand and he brought in the dove, he saw that the dove was struggling on its own, so he brought her in. And he said it's called a tzaddik, and tzaddik tamim, but he's not called ish chesed. Why was Noach not called ish chesed? Even though he did kindness with all of them. And he did. It's just my father just walked in. Mazal tov to him on the granddaughter. So we're talking about the chesed of Noach. So even though he did kindness with all the animals, and Joe said you can do chesed with animals, but it's still called tzedakah. It's not called chesed. And even though his son, Shem ben Noach, was a Rosh Yeshiva, Malki Tzedek, he also wasn't called chesed, even though he did charity. So what's the difference between tzedakah and chesed? Why is everything that Noach did called tzedakah, and it's not called chesed, and only Avraham is called chesed? Do you have a suggestion? My mom walked in. Mazal tov to my mom on the granddaughter.
Mazal tov. Mazal tov.
Mazal tov, mommy. Okay. Okay.
I mean,
So where are we up
because
to?
Noach saved the animals because there was a flood coming, so he had to. He had to. And again, Avram did chesed out of the goodness of his heart.
And Noach?
Noach, he had, I mean, yeah, it was a good deed, but everyone would have drowned, and the animals would have drowned if he didn't say, if he didn't. So he, in some way, he was forced to. Not forced to, he had more of a push.
Okay, excellent. You're doing great.
He was told to, basically.
Yeah.
It's told to. So you're absolutely right. And you see over here, the Midrash says, they said to Enosh, he said, go and provide for your father, Shet. And he went and he gave a parnasov v'kilkelo. They said, Amor lo avod et avi avicha, go for your grandfather, work for him. He said, oh, I don't have to take care of my grandfather. They went to Canaan, his son, they said, go feed your father, give him parnasah. So he did it. They told him, go give your grandfather. And he said, no, I don't have to. They went to Noach. And they said to Noach, go feed your father. And he gave him and provided for him. They said, go provide for your grandfather, avodet avi avicha, kiber alav, v'zanet avi avi, v'tkol avotav shayu b'ota shah. All his ancestors that were alive at the time, Noach provided for them. So you see, Noach did do kindness. And it was b'zchut the chesed with his fathers and great fathers that he actually was saved from the Mabul, according to Sefer Yeshuot Yaakov. So even though Noach did all this chesed, he still wasn't called ish chesed like Abraham. Says Chovat el Avavot, like what Joe said and like what Maor said. He was told to. He was almost forced to do it. He said, when you do kindness just because you're told or because you're asked or because you just feel bad, you feel pain, so you're just doing it for yourself. You don't actually want to do it from the goodness of your heart. It's not out of your goodwill to want to do good to people. It's there's some misken over here. I feel bad that he's misken, so I want to take care of my bad feelings. So I'm going to give to him. Not because I want to give. If he can sort out himself with someone else, then that's fine. I don't need to help him. I'm quite happy if I don't need to help him. If he can ask someone else. If he doesn't ask me, then I'm also happy. So that's the difference between chesed and rachamim. What's rachamim? I feel bad for you. Or I feel bad for whoever needs help, right? If you don't need help, then that's fine. You know, there's no rachamim. But chesed means I've got a big heart and I want to give. I need someone to give to. Give me someone that I can provide for. That is what chesed is about. That is what Abraham is going to do. from his own initiative, from his own goodwill, from his need to be giving, like the Creator. What is this? The Borei Olam is a Tov or Metiv. Why did he create the world? Because he wanted to give. So he created the world in order to be able to give to people. If you want to become like your Creator, be like the Borei Olam. That is what about Chesed. I'm going to open up an organization to help people. What can I help with? Whatever I'm good at, I can help people with. That's what I'm going to do. We're going to end off here. We'll just end off this. What was Eov? Eov, he's listen, I'm opening up. If someone wants to come in, I'll give them. Whatever they need, I'll give. Avraham Avinu says, no, it's not about that. I don't need you to come in and ask for help. I'm going to go out and look for people. There's a tremendous difference. It's not tzedakah, it's chesed. Tzedakah is to help somebody in need. Chesed is I'm going to go because I want to give. So Eov is this, if there's no one need, no one wants to come in, so I don't need to give anyone. I wait for them to come in and I'll feed them what they used to. I promise I'm going to go out of my way. I'm going to go out of the 4 openings and look for people. And I don't care if it's my 3rd day of my Brit Milah, and if it's hot day, and if I'm patur. I don't want to be patur, I want to be giving. That is what it's all about, chesed. Chesed is about the want to give. Don't wait till somebody asks you to be invited. Yeah. Or can I come? No, go out and invite people. Look for opportunities to do chesed. This is what creates the world. This is what Avraham Avinu gets rewarded for many generations afterwards. In the Midbar, in Eretz Israel, in Atid Lavo Mashiach will come. And all of this is just for the angels that don't even need to receive anything. This is why this story is mentioned by the angels. The chesed that he did with the angels, it's not about what they received. It's not about someone being needy. It's about the will and the good heart of wanting to give, to be like your Creator. And like Maor said, it wasn't what I want to give them. So giving somebody physical food or physical help or monetary, that's a basic level of giving. But when you want to give them for the neshama, give them ruchaniyut, bring them closer to their Creator.
Yeah, but in
themselves. That's Ahavat Chesed. Sorry?
No, in Avraham, because it was only in order to imitate Hashem. So it just acknowledged that actually.
You're cracking up, Gilad. We can't enjoy hearing what you're saying. We can hear every second word. Do you want to repeat it slowly or type it? Okay. Bezat Hashem, we should fix it or get your mics fixed so we can hear your good questions and your additions to the shiur. It's just the end of the shiur. The tzedakah is to help what people need. But chesed is going out and because of your desire that you want to give. And because Avraham wanted to give so much, the angels, according to one opinion, Hashem changed their nature and gave them a digestive system just so that they'd be able to eat. All the Torah begins with chesed and ends with chesed. This is Gilad said. Where does it say in the Torah? Chesed. We learn from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's when you don't need to. You're not obligated to do the chesed, but you still want to do chesed. That's what's the biggest act of chesed. What's the first act that we're told Hashem did in the world to man? Chesed. Where do we see chesed? The first act of chesed in the Torah. ויעש השם לאדם ולאשתו כתונת אור וילבישם. כתונות אור וילבישם. Why did Hashem make them garments, leather clothes? Why is that a chesed? Because they already had clothes. He said they were already wearing chagurot me'alei te'ena. They already took some leaves and they made themselves a covering. So why did he go and make them extra clothing? That was the kindness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That was the chesed that he did. He didn't need to do that. They didn't know about clothes. They didn't ask for clothes. Hashem went and gave them clothes. And it was a chesed that he did after they sinned against him. They didn't even listen to him. They sinned. They got punished. And even then he does a chesed. That's the beginning. The Torah ends with chesed. Begins with chesed. When does the Torah ends with chesed? With Moshe Rabbeinu. What do we say about Moshe Rabbeinu? Vayikvor oto b'gai. Hashem buried Moshe Rabbeinu. Why is that chesed? Because Hashem didn't need to bury Moshe. Why is a person needs to be buried? There's 2 reasons. One is respect to the body. There's people shouldn't see the body being decayed. And one is a kapara for the body. The body that when it gets in the ground and decays, it's a kapara, it's an atonement. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't need any of those because his body, he was buried when no one else could saw him. No one saw him die. He just went up into the cave, Bahar. So his body didn't need it. And he didn't need any kapara. There was no chet of Moshe Rabbeinu. He reached the highest level. And nevertheless, God buried him just for kindness. So from the beginning of the Torah to the end of the Torah, Hashem is just with kindness. Olam chesed yibane. That's the Amud of chesed, Avraham Avinu. And Be'ezrat Hashem, we should ask ourselves, Matai giyu ma'asai le'masei avotai. That just my good heart, for my Creator, I wake up in the morning and I think, how can I do goodness to people? Can I say a good word to people? Can I smile at them? Can I give a helping hand, open a door, make a connection? Someone needs a job, help them find it. Someone needs a shidduch, help them find it. How can I help people in many ways? And the Ramchal, he says, there's a big difference between chesed and tzedakah. The mala of chesed is much bigger than tzedakah. Tzedakah is only with money. But chesed you can do with money and without money. It's nothing to do with how much money you have. It's got to do with how much you have in your heart that you want to be giving. Chesed can be done to poor people and rich people. Charity is only with poor people, but chesed you can do with rich people. Even rich people need help in different areas. Wherever area you can help, you help them. It's about giving. It's not about giving to people who are needy. And chesed can be given with live people and even with dead people. People who passed away. You can do chesed with them. Learn for them Torah, give charity in their name, do something for them in their memory. You can still do chesed. Tzedakah only give it to people. That's what the ma'ala of chesed is much greater. And the chesed, Olam chesed yibane. Be'ezrat Hashem, we should all take lesson from Avraham Avinu and open our hearts to be giving good to others. And Be'ezrat Hashem, b'zchut that, to reach a high level, become more like a creator, make Hashem happy. Bring up all the level of Am Yisrael, and Be'ezrat Hashem will be zochet to Geula Shlema. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the shiur.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
And if you're joining, we'll maybe do a few minutes of halacha. I want to invite you. Thank you. Is there any questions on the shiur?
Yes.
Oh,
Who was more holier? Sorry, one second.
okay. We'll take that question later. Is there any other questions, Meir or Maor? Gilad?
So it was
Yeah.
who was holier, Moshe or Avraham?
It's difficult for me to answer that question because maybe in different ways they're different. Avraham is Avunah and Avraham Avinu. We say, okay, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, the fathers. And the other hand, in Nevuah and prophecy, they say Moshe was the greatest. There was no one like him. So also in Kabbalah, it's different spheres. Each one emulated a different aspect of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Avraham was Chesed, and Moshe Rabbeinu was a Netzach and Malchut. So it's different to explain. But from our point of view, we need to try and imitate both. All of the Sheva Ro'im, even in their Chesed and also in Moshe and his Anava and his humility and his service of God. It's called Eved Hashem. But you see, Avraham Avinu was blessed with everything. By V'orech et Avraham bakol. Bakol mikol kol. He was blessed with everything. Goodness, riches, fame, children, Avlamon Goyim. So he did chesed. I would say a good story now, but we're running out of time, so we passed our time. But there's many great stories about chesed. Maybe we'll just do a few minutes short halachot.
Yep.
Mary, you want to start recording for us?